From the outside, the Menendez family looked like the definition of success. José Menendez, a powerful Hollywood executive, had built a fortune. Kitty, his wife, was seen as the elegant mother of two bright young men, Lyle and Erik. But behind those mansion doors, the story was very different. Lyle and Erik would later describe a household ruled by control, fear, and silence. Their father, José, was known for being strict, even ruthless. Success wasn't just expected, it was demanded. Every detail of their lives, from school grades to sports performances, was under his watchful eye. But it wasn't only strict parenting. In the courtroom, the brothers revealed darker secrets, claims of years of emotional and even sexual abuse. They painted a chilling picture, a home that looked perfect, but inside was a prison of fear. Some believed the brothers were finally speaking their truth. Others thought it was just a story, a desperate excuse to escape the consequences of murder. But whether true or not, one thing was certain. The Menendez household was no fairy tale. And on August 20th, 1989, all that anger, fear, and silence would explode into violence. On the surface, the Menendez family was living the American dream. A Beverly Hills mansion, expensive cars, connections to Hollywood's elite. Lyle and Erik wore designer clothes, attended exclusive schools, and seemed destined for success. But appearances can be deceiving. Behind those doors, life was not golden. Their father, José Menendez, had built his career through ambition, intimidation, and control. At home, that same drive for power became something much darker. Lyle and Erik described him as a tyrant, a man who demanded perfection, but offered little love. Kitty, their mother, had once dreamed of being an actress, but she had given it all up to stand by José. Over time, she became withdrawn, battling her own demons with depression and addiction. The glamorous facade of a Hollywood family was crumbling inside. The brothers would later testify that every day felt like walking on broken glass. Mistakes weren't tolerated. Disobedience was punished. And, according to their claims, the abuse went far beyond harsh discipline. Lyle and Erik told the world about years of molestation. They said José controlled every aspect of their lives, even their bodies. In their words, the house wasn't a home. It was a prison. Imagine being young, wealthy, and surrounded by luxury, but terrified every time you heard your father's footsteps in the hall. Imagine your cries for help being silenced because, to the outside world, your family was perfect. But here's the twist. Not everyone believed them. Some saw the brothers as spoiled, rich kids, inventing a tragic story to excuse murder. Others, especially survivors of abuse, saw the pain in their voices and believed. August 20th, 1989. A warm summer night in Beverly Hills. Inside the Grand Menendez mansion, the air was thick with silence. For José and Kitty, it was just another evening in their perfect world. For Lyle and Erik, it was the night everything would change. What we do know is that the Menendez family home became a pressure cooker. Years of secrets, fear, and silence were boiling over. And in August of 1989, it all erupted in the most violent way imaginable. According to investigators, the brothers spent the day planning. They purchased shotguns earlier that month, telling the store they needed them for protection. But what they really wanted was power. That night, José and Kitty were sitting in the den, relaxing after dinner, watching television, enjoying their living room, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Whether truth or strategy, their story cast doubt on everything people thought they knew. Was this a cold-blooded crime for money, or a desperate act of survival? Just after 10 p.m., the silence of the mansion was broken. Lyle and Erik stepped into the room armed. In seconds, the luxury of Beverly Hills collided with raw, brutal violence. The first blast tore through the stillness, striking José instantly. He didn't have time to react. The powerful shotgun blast was so devastating that José Menendez died before he could even stand. Kitty's scream filled the room. She tried to run. She slipped, crawled, begged for her life. But the brothers didn't stop. Shot after shot echoed through the Beverly Hills mansion, shattering glass, piercing walls. Neighbors later reported hearing loud bangs, but in this neighborhood, loud noises weren't unusual. No one called for help. By the time the gunfire ended, The Menendez brothers stood over the bodies of their parents. The man who ruled their lives with an iron fist, and the mother who stood by silently through it all, were gone. What followed was almost as shocking as the murders themselves. Instead of panicking, Lyle and Erik began to stage the scene. They dumped the shotgun shells. They left the house. And then, in a move that stunned investigators later, they went to the movies. Hours later, they returned home and called 911. Their frantic voices shook through the phone lines. "Somebody killed my parents." The dispatcher tried to calm them, but the truth was already set in motion. The Menendez mansion was no longer just a Beverly Hills estate. It was a crime scene. The police arrived to find chaos. Blood spattered across the room. Furniture overturned. Kitty's body collapsed near the sofa. José, motionless in his chair. At first, detectives assumed it was a mob hit. A professional job. Beverly Hills wasn't used to family murders. Not in mansions. Not like this. But behind the tears and the staged chaos, cracks began to show. And soon, the brothers' carefully crafted plan to get away with murder would begin to unravel.